So Battle Royales have been a huge thing for the past couple years. All these games, inspired by the Hunger Games series, pit a large number of people against each other to be the very last person to survive. We saw this initially in certain Minecraft servers starting in 2012, which is honestly where most of this type of game formed. However, there were groups of people that wanted something more of it, so they got... No, get out of here, Kirby, you weren't even close. So they wanted a Call of Duty Battle Royale. As a result, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds was born. It was the first Battle Royale that I personally played, and, you know, I was alright. I never won, but it was fun to play once every 3 weeks. Regardless, this is where things started to get out of hand. I mean, started to take off. Shortly after, an onslaught of newer games came out, the most notable being Fortnite, regarded largely as the most popular and lucrative Battle Royale, and it introduced a new mechanic, to build things. Now, I never played on a Minecraft Hunger Games server, so I don't know if you could build back then, but it seems to me like it was harkening back to those days. No? Am I wrong? The point is, this isn't where it stopped. Next came Royale, a game that added special abilities in an attempt to become a Overwatch Battle Royale of sorts. And now, we even have Apex Legends, going into the Titanfall universe and overall executing the idea of Royale a little bit better in my opinion. Plus, it has some great movement options like sliding, and honestly, I just slid around before I uninstalled it. Now, I at least understand that I'm not very good at a lot of these games, and that's probably why I don't like them as much. But I want to hone in on some key game design ideas behind why I specifically think out of all of these games, Tetris 99 is the best one. I haven't mentioned that one yet? Oh, well, it's the game that came out in February of 2019 where you play Tetris against 98 other players. As you clear lines, you send garbage lines with a single opening to other players that appears on the bottom of their screen. I haven't looked into the code, but from my experience, the openings seem to always appear on that part of your stack that has the most blocks already stacked up. Anyway, the more lines you clear at once, the more lines of garbage you send to your targets. If you pull off some special maneuvers like comboing clears, using T-spins, or getting back-to-back Tetrises, you send even more. Then there's the targeting system, badges, and KOs. The badges in particular are interesting to me. The more KOs you get, the more badges you get, and when you get enough badges, you start to send out 25%, 50, 75, and then even 100% more garbage lines to others. It's like this game's version of loot. But really, let's get down to the reasons why I feel like this is the best Battle Royale. Reason number 1, being able to always play. What do you mean, you may ask? You get to play all these games every time you boot it up. And that's true. You are indeed walking around, and you are pressing buttons while you are playing these other games. But I feel like you don't really play the game until you find other people and begin shooting. Half the game is waiting or running to get into the center of the ring, then the other half is getting shot at and you don't even know where it's coming from, and then you're probably dead. In Tetris 99, that's not the case, at least not for me. There's never a point where you aren't playing Tetris. You're always trying to build lines and clear them and go for other people. And when you're attacked, you can see exactly where it's coming from, and then you even set yourself to attackers and send garbage right back. It's a game that always gives you at least a chance to shoot back. And if you do get knocked out, you get to jump right back in. But wait, I hear you say again, you get to do that in all the other Battle Royales too. And that brings me to my second point, loading times. Yes, I know the other games have a lot more to load, so it makes sense that you would have about 2 minutes to load into each game. But think about it. You get killed, and you have to load back into the menu for a moment, and then begin searching for players again. You get hooked up quick in about 60 seconds from my experience, which is nice. And then you have to be in that lobby for a long moment. Sometimes a really long time. Like for some games, a really long time. But then you finally get into game and you're looking for where you want to drop. That's another minimum of 30 seconds before you can even drop, and that's if you're spamming that drop button the entire way. If we reference the first point as well, you'll also have to account for the downtime of finding everything to fight with in the first place. So you've been really looking at it all, it usually ends up taking somewhere around 2 to 4 minutes between each game that you play. And that starts to add up, especially when it's compared to Tetris 99, where you hold down the A button after a match and it begins loading another match. I don't know about anybody else, but the timer starts at 80 seconds, and usually I have everybody loaded in at around 60 seconds, at most. I've never even seen anything in the 50s. That's about 20 seconds, and then you take about 10 seconds to sync everybody and it counts to 3, and then we're in. That's 33 seconds. That's all between matches. It makes it easy to accidentally play this game for hours with the just one more mentality. Now this third one is a little less of a point, but I think it's important nonetheless. By far, my favorite part of this game is that you get to use your brain to play exactly how you want. Is your style to clear lines whenever possible? Go for it. You want to try to solely set up Tetrises? Try it out. You want to totally slip up while using the Pro Controller and place a block somewhere you didn't mean to, but then figure out how to clear it out, and then you release a sigh of relief? That sounds good too. In other Battle Royales, you get to decide if you want to play aggressive or just keep to yourself. And you do get that same opportunity in this game with the selection system, from going to KOs, badges, attackers, or randoms. Or you can even pick anybody you want manually by selecting them with the left stick. That really does seem to be something you need a multitasking brain for, like a neurosurgeon, and I don't have that, so I usually set things to KOs. The KO marker targets people that are about to be knocked out, and you try to steal the credit from those that worked hard for it to get there. This is also the reason that you might start to get targeted heavily as you build taller towers. The more people selecting KOs, that's going to be more people targeting you. Badges fulfills the need for the thrill seekers who want to go for the heavy hitters. You'll be setting your sights on the people who have killed the most other people. But those are the same people that are going to send out increased amounts of garbage. If you kill them, you get all of their badges, and then become the big behemoth that they were. It's just like grabbing loot from somebody you killed in another Battle Royale game. I talked about it briefly, but the Attackers mode gives you the opportunity to fire back at those that are targeting you. Getting the opportunity to react makes this game feel less like it's unjustly killing you, and more like you have to concoct a master plan to get yourself out of each situation. Not to mention, the more people attacking you, the stronger you are, which means you're going to send out tons more garbage to other players. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that this game still delivers on all the freedoms of a regular Battle Royale game in styles of play. There's so much you can go for, and the more skilled you are, the more you can do, just like in those other games. My fourth point has to do with approachability. Let's start things off with a little bit of background here. I love video games. I could play them all day long. My wife likes video games and she plays them in spurts of 45 minutes or so and then usually stops. When Tetris 99 came out, my wife and I were trading back and forth, cheering each other on. But then, when I was ready to take a break, she was going to play one more. And that turned into one more. And then one more. She was able to play this game for 3 hours without getting tired of it, and that was personally awesome to me. Now, I'm not saying that's how you have to play, but for people who don't even play a bunch of video games, it's very approachable. Third-person shooter games have a particular skill set that somebody needs to know. Sometimes things are a little different between each game, but for the most part, it's the same set of skills involving a ton of coordination and buttons. You have to control your camera with one stick, control your movement with the other, open and close menus, remember if you set U's to E or F to heal, or the other way around and accidentally blow yourself up with a grenade and die. I guess my point is, once you learn the skills, it's easily transferable, but there are a lot of things that you have to keep track of. Don't even get me started on Fortnite. The biggest turnoff for me was how intimidating the HUD looked. I didn't even start to use it much before I left because I had too many things to keep track of between materials, weapons, potions, and ways to build things. In Tetris, you have a completely new set of controls, but the learning curve on them is much less steep. Let's be clear, by new, I mean literally the Tetris controls that you know if you've played Tetris before, but some people haven't. You move blocks left or right, rotate them left or right, you can store them, soft drop them by dropping them really fast, or hard drop them by dropping them instantly. If you don't want to worry about it, you don't even have to touch the targeting system. At first, I always set it to KOs and then never touched it again. As I started to get more comfortable, I started to switch it around as I needed. Not to mention the speed of the game is approachable as heck too. You start off the game nice and slow, allowing for players that are new to the game to get a feel for the controls as their tetrameter begins to fall. You can test out soft dropping speeds and even get used to rotating a piece as it's starting to land to fill those gaps you accidentally or intentionally left. This is a phenomenal way to give the player a way to get comfortable with things before it gets wild. As you progress farther, you start to speed up. At 50 is the first time things get faster, and it's not by that much, but it does start to force you to be very attentive to your decisions and speeds up your thought process. As you get higher and higher, it starts getting crazy fast, causing you to think on your feet and sometimes shout in panic. But again, it's approachable because you will be getting there gradually and you're going to be training yourself along the whole way to think faster. You know what? New point. We're going to talk about training and how this game does a great job with that. This game teaches you so well. We talked about the speed already, but it goes farther beyond that. Tetris 99 shows you drop shadows of where your piece is going to end up, and this is both useful for beginners and veterans alike. Beginners get to see the shapes fitting into specific areas before they have to lock it in, rather than being punished for not understanding and realizing the proper shape of a tetramino. Veterans get to double check their work, but oftentimes I don't even see the shadow anymore. Except when I see that the place the shadow starts is actually perfect for what I'm looking for. And then there's the visuals. Every time you are in danger, the game lets you know, rather than letting you die without realizing it was going to happen. The screen starts to flash red and you can actually see the garbage in the left column being sent to you, so you can notice how much you need to clear so that you can keep yourself in the game. The visual cues have helped me out tons, and because I'm the kind of player who tries to set up Tetris, when I see my screen is going red, I just start to clear things and try to make sure that I'm knocking out that garbage. But it also lets me know that if I'm close to a Tetris, I get to be rewarded for clearing it, and it removes a ton of my incoming garbage. Plus, as you get up to the faster speeds, the game starts to show you checkpoints like 50 players and top 10 players. That way you know exactly where you are. Then there's the countless audio cues. When you start off the game, it's playing the Tetris theme nice and calm. It's kind of like a march tempo around 120 beats per minute. This kind of audio is the thing that'll tell you have time to think. But as you reach level 50, an alert plays, and the tempo of the song starts to pick up, somewhere around 160 beats per minute. This tells you right away that the speed of the game is going to pick up, and it's going to continue to do so as you continue to play. This is especially apparent when you get to top 10 and Flight of the Bumblebee starts to play, and things are getting crazy fast. Then you really know how intense things can get. A small detail that I believe helps so much is the audio cue you get when garbage is sent your way. There's a tiny boom sound which will start to direct your attention over to your incoming garbage, which lets you know how much you need to get rid of. All of these factors, sound and visual, make the game really, really easy to understand. Now, is this game perfect? No, of course not. Every game has something that it needs to improve on. For example, there are some times when I play this game that I outright don't feel like I can do anything. Most of the time I can last into the 20s, maybe even the 10s, but sometimes I get out at like 89 because I get sent 2 lines of 5 right away and I can't clear it fast enough. I also would much prefer if it had customizable controls. The only difference between the 2 settings they give you is which joystick is the auto selector and which one's the manual. It's really a lame option, and I've gotten used to the controls now, but I feel like I might have wanted to swap around a couple rotation buttons to get something more comfortable for me. While not a complaint, maybe at some point we could also earn points for playing and get skins for our playing areas. They don't even have to be visible to other players on the mini-screens, but I could at least have a red instead of a blue border, and maybe you could unlock Nintendo-themed borders after the different characters they have. They keep track of your level, but I'm honestly not even sure what that means. I'm level 52 and I still get matched up against people who are level 3 and people who are like 110. And maybe we want something like ranked ladder system. I don't know how that would work, and it's not something personally for me, but I know that there are so many people out there that love to just climb ranks in games. Plus, then you would know that you're against people that are close to your skill level, and maybe you'll end up getting number 1 more often and feeling like you're really making progress. Overall though, I love this game, and I boot it up nearly every day. Sometimes I play 3 games and stop, and sometimes I play for 3 hours. It's definitely the least rage-inducing battle royale game out there, because almost every situation can be rectified with something in your personal skill, rather than just the skill of other people. I'll never forget the one and only time that I landed the number 1 spot. It was crazy. I felt like my hands were moving independent of my brain. I never even looked at where I was in terms of placement. And then the screen cleared and I was sure that I all of a sudden lost. But then it said I won and I literally yelled in excitement. The game does an excellent job of teaching the player how the game works through simple gameplay design and speed adjustments, and there are some factors that doesn't really cover like T-spinning, but adventurous and curious players can discover it by trying to pull off some interesting movements and maneuvers. While it does fall short of customization compared to the other battle royales, I think it's such a minor point of contention, which speaks to its excellence since I feel like half of the other games is based around wanting those skins and customizations. I'm looking at all of you who use default as an insult. If you haven't played this game, I recommend giving it a chance. But I also want to hear from you. Tell me about your experience with Tetris 99, and also tell me how it compares to other battle royales for you. Remember, everything here is my opinion, so it's alright to disagree with me. Let me know what you have to say.